Been kind of tired, following this thing for the last every day because I've been getting photographs all around the planet, like you just said, from Slovakia, geez, from Russia, from here in the United States, over Germany, um, and I'm also seeing this other stuff where everyone's starting to worry about Planet Nine. There's this one guy on the internet. Can't remember his name right now. I'm quite sure you can mention his name for me if you could, please. He has a nice show. He's also on Facebook. He's worrying about Nibiru somehow causing the end of the world. Let's make this very clear. Nibiru orbits around the brown dwarf star we call Nemesis. It orbits between Jupiter and Mars. It does not come any closer towards the Earth, and I'm glad it doesn't. Unfortunately, it has up to about 13 planets or moons that have a very large orbit out from the planet Nibiru. Nibiru is about the size, if not larger, than Jupiter. And its orbits were imaged by NASA back in 2008 when they imaged the planet Nibiru itself. And they put arrows going to each one of its orbits. I picked out about 13. So there's about 13 things, either planets or moons, at various lengths and degrees around the planet. We have seen 4 of these things in our skies since April 10th of 2015. A blue one, a white one, which had heavy craters all over it. It had nothing that even looked like our moon. There's a silverish looking one, and then there's a red one. I would tell Alex Jones to not worry about Nibiru itself. I would tell him to worry about the red one. The red one goes down through human history known as the wormwood from the Holy Bible, wormwood. It also went down as the red kachina to the Hopi people here in the United States, and was also called the destroyer by the Egyptians during the exodus of the Hebrews at 1613 to 1558 BC. Those are the 3 names which are most popular, and that's the only ones I'm mentioning right now. So if Alex Jones wants to keep worrying about Nibiru, it's up to him. I would worry about this red one, which is being seen on the screen right now.
Now, Bob,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure. This picture that we're looking at right now,
Yes.
This was sent to you recently by just a local astronomer, correct?
A local friend, he took this photograph using his telescope of this big red thing near our sun in the skies. This red thing, this reddish planet or moon, that's wormwood. No doubt about it. The Egyptians called it the destroyer. Holy Bible was done just about after the Exodus, so that's the name they put down for wormwood. A huge red mass in the sky. This thing must have a very strong gravitational electromagnetic pull, because once it comes close towards the Earth, it seems to slow the Earth's rotation down. This has been mentioned in several books, Ancient Tales, Zechariah Sitchin with the Lost Book of Enki, the recorded accounts by Ipawer, an Egyptian scribe, which detailed the account of the Exodus. So there's 2 accounts of the Exodus, one from the Egyptians, one from the Holy Bible.
Now,
This thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, sure. Yeah, I was going to say also, you were talking about the red Kachina. There's the blue Kachina as well. And we had Steve Olson on the show with us, the Leak Project, a couple weeks ago. He got some
Okay.
footage of what looked like a greenish blue planet that was close to the sun. And I said, hey, could this possibly be the blue Kachina? And then remember also the footage that I sent you last night that you finally got
Yes.
this morning from your long upload that
Yeah.
we talked about, and that's from a specific Skycam that the gentleman that sent me this, I'm just going to call him KW. I'd like to say
Okay.
thank you, KW, for sending that to me. But this Skycam footage shows looks like a red planet, and then there's a couple blue planets and a couple green planets, and the way that it's lined up, you can tell it's not the typical Venus, Saturn, Jupiter.
Exactly.
So, do you think that all these different things we're seeing then, it sounds to me like if we are in this binary system, it's starting to come back around and it's bringing back everything with it?
It's a good chance on that, a good possibility. Because, like I said, we first saw the blue one on April 29th, I think back in Illinois. It was in the clear skies over Illinois. And my friend Sharon, she clearly caught it in the skies above her house. That same thing was seen on a black and white web camera down in Antarctica. It was at a station called the Neumeyer Station 3. And they had been watching something for years, and it finally came into perfect view, nice and clear, and it was the exact same thing. It was just in black and white. That bluish looking planet has been seen, or moon, has been seen in our skies recently, and that's some of the images I sent to you recently we're going to be seeing tonight. We've seen four. Now, one of them might have been accidentally misinterpreted as the blue one, because there is a bluish looking thing or greenish looking thing in our skies too. It's been hard to detect whether it's the same object as the blue one, because sometimes it kind of varies back and forth between being looking greenish or bluish. So you might have a good point here. Maybe we might be seeing five. Now, the Hopis, in their ancient prophecies, they said that before the end of the fourth Hopi world, a blue Kachina would appear in their skies, and it would hold the two star brothers. And the star brothers would come down and would dance in an uninitiated plaza, meaning not a Hopi plaza for the Hopi people only, but for a plaza that would allow everyone. And they would dance in the plaza and they would unmask themselves. That clearly says first contact, because they come down, they have some type of disguise so no one knows what they look like, and then they unmask themselves so everyone can see them. Now, the other prophet says before the end of the fourth Hopi world is that the red Kachina will appear in their skies. And if the Star Brothers have determined that humanity has not been following the right road, following all the rules that were laid down before them, the red Kachina will cleanse the world, the earth. Now, you can take that term cleanse any way you which want to.
It makes me think of the fact that if this really is taking place right now, and if these pictures we're looking at aren't lens flare, are not
They're not.
photoshopped, are not swamp gas, are not, and I'm being facetious here for a second with you, Bob, but so like that picture I just sent you, and I'd like you to pull this up if you could so our audience could look at it. That's what I was referring to a moment ago. That's a screenshot of that Skycam. But so you're looking at right now, if we
Let me see if I can find that for you.
Sure. So I just sent it to you. It's right there. I'm thinking of if there really is some truth to that prophecy that you're talking about, if we the people have a choice right now to make, and if we can choose wisely, like the Indiana Jones movie. Remember that? The Last Crusade, where he picks
Exactly.
let's choose wisely. So let's choose
Well,
wisely. Let's make the right decisions so we don't get destroyed or cleansed by the red Kachina, and, let's keep things going on.
well, you have to assume, and assume means various things, that the US government and every government around the planet knew something was coming and started spending immense amounts of money for the deep underground military bases, which are all around the United States, all around the planet, the emergency seed vaults, which hold every seed for every tree and plant that we live off because we eat them or whatever. And they knew this was coming. So this is the reason why, because they knew this was coming.
Well, I mean,
Pope John Paul II,
there could
don't
be
believe me, don't believe any other person you listen to. Pope John Paul II, one of the best popes we've ever had, he warned in 1980 very clearly that they wouldn't talk about this, the third secret of Fatima. The third secret of Fatima, because they didn't want the communists to cause many coups or take land around the planet. But what if it was in writing, that the world's oceans would cover every continent, killing millions within minutes? Why talk about it? See, every person down the line from Pope John Paul II has warned about this thing coming. NASA started leaking the information about this in 2007, 2008. The NASA scientists were hoping that it would fall into the right hands and they would be able to show the people, but they were always being told this was garbage, garbage, garbage. Then they leaked more in 2009 that this thing was coming. We wouldn't see it on December 21st, 2012. They knew it was 20 astronomical units away from orbiting through our solar system. They had already projected that in 2009. We wouldn't see it until now.
Well, and let me jump in real quick too, Bob, because it reminds me of that cry wolf scenario where if you keep crying wolf, eventually no one's going to come after it. I mean, there's
Exactly.
like, oh yeah, he's playing. So that's probably why they orchestrated this specific time frame where they created this big freak out scenario back in 2003, then it was 2008, 2010,
Yes.
2012. So now people on the internet, well, I thought it was going to be last year. I thought it was going to be the year before that. I thought it was going to be 2 years ago. I'm tired of this Nibiru bullcrap. So, and that's why they probably did that. So let's look at this right now, this screenshot that I sent you that was sent to me by KW. This person has actually got a career where they look at x-rays for a living. I mean, so they're very smart.
And
well, hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. And I just wanted to say that this person has been following these sky cams now for several months at work without even looking for anything in specific, just killing time, bored, waiting for the next procedure. And this person will spend countless hours looking at these different sky cams. And over the past few months, KW has noticed what you're putting the cursor by, these different, looks like planetary bodies. There's a couple green ones, a couple blue ones, and then there's the infamous red one right there in the middle. And if you overlay this with a star map of the planets of our solar system now, there's no comparison there. You could not overlay them anywhere close. So do you think that this right here is spot on? Do you think this is the red Kachina and possibly the other planets around it that you're pointing out there?
It sure looks like it. I'm sorry to say, it sure looks like it. A lot of other observatories have been showing things, because almost every observatory around the planet has webcams which are watching up, looking straight up, just like this, where it has east, west, north, south. And they've been showing this big red thing going over in the night sky or the early morning.
Is there a way to zoom in on that a little bit, that screen?
Let's see.
If not, it's not a big deal.
Let's see if I can. Right there. Okay. Oop. Had to back off a little bit. But yeah, it's right there. There's the red one. It kind of goofed up when I
Maybe
pushed it too
zoom
far.
out just a little bit more there.
No. Oh, there it
No,
goes.
there we go.
Back up. Let me go forward again. Nope. Nope. Back up. Okay. There it is. Right there. So yeah, too many people have been seeing this, and we're just starting to see them now in our skies with all the photographs I sent you. And I'm just thinking, let me click out of this so I'm not getting.
Yeah, take us to the next photograph that you got that was pretty recent.
This one here, this was from 318. And here's this big red thing. This was over Germany.
But could that have been, that couldn't have been seen by the naked eye, right? I mean, otherwise you would have
Yes.
had a million phone calls.
Yes, these were being seen by the naked eye. This was on a webcam. So anyone that went to the webcams was seeing this very clearly in their night sky. And a few of my friends, let me get out of that blue thing. There it goes. A few of my friends, they actually enlarged it up. And here's that huge thing being covered by clouds or something. 319 by Sharon.
Thanks,
She's
Sharon.
my friend. Yeah, she's my friend back there in Illinois. And she enlarged it right there. So the big red one's showing itself more and more and more.
You know, it looks kind of transparent, though, which is odd in some spots.
I know that, and Sharon has had a lot of people saying, this is fake, isn't it? But then she's had a lot of people research into her photograph and find anything. This is being seen down in Australia. There's our sun. There's this other thing right there. During the day, this thing looks orange or yellowish. Because I've seen many of these photographs, one after the other, and it turns red as it gets closer to nighttime. And there's another small picture, but enlargement. That's on 319. There it is again. There it is again. And that's looking up through an observatory's web camera. There's our sun. There's the red thing right there. So that's not coming from someone's camera. It's coming from an observatory. There it goes. East, north, south, west. That's being taken by an observatory down in Australia. Here's the big white one that we're starting to see more and more now.
Wow.
This is not our moon. It's very heavily cratered and it's much closer. This is also being caught by an observatory, west, east. That's one of the other things.
Thing's huge.
It is. That's how close these things are getting towards the Earth. Here's one up here, up in Italy. There's our sun. There's that one right there.
You know, Bob, while you're showing that, if there's some people out there that are listening to this that have knowledge in, like, let's say astronomy.
Astronomy, yes.
Okay, well, let me finish here, because they have chemtrails at certain times of the day that you'll see this, haze in certain areas of the world. And if there's people out there that can pick up, okay, well, at this time of the day, they're going to block out this giant section. So then because that's where you're going to be able to see these planetary bodies. So my question is, if there's somebody out there listening, and I'm sure there is, if you could send data to us and maybe put a connection together, okay, yeah, it's very odd that in Iowa at 11 a.m. from Iowa to Kansas City, from this time of the day, they spray and cause clouds to cover the sky so people can't see, yet the official version of why chemtrails are typically taking place, not only to seed the clouds sometimes and cause rain, but is to protect the people from global warming.
Right. And I don't know exactly why they've been doing the chemtrails. I sent you a copy of a lab report while back that went from 2006, 2007. Chemtrail samples were taken from Italy and from Texas. And the lab said what they found was all man-made materials. And they called it Morgellons disease. And they were spraying this in our skies then. 2007, 2006, 2007.
You remember the plastic snow last year?
Yes. I've been following a lot of this stuff being reported all around the planet. Over in India, my friend has been telling me that they've been spreading black chemtrails at night. And some people here in the United States have been also mentioning the same things now. Say this red thing is wormwood. Say it is the red kachina. Say it is what the ancient Egyptians called the destroyer. My contact, which is a Palladian, she tells me it is not going to be as bad as the Noah's flood, Ziusudra's flood. Ziusudra was another name that Noah went by. Ziusudra was a half-breed. He was another son of the Anunnaki, Enki. That's why Enki went down to Ziusudra to warn him he didn't want his other son to be killed. Ziusudra is found all through ancient testimonies, recounts. He became king after the flood. Say this thing is going to cause a partial earth crustal displacement. That's the proper term I have to use, because we also might have a magnetic pole shift as described in the movie 2012. If there is a partial earth crustal displacement, the oceans will lap back and forth all across the planet until they settle back down. They will wipe out almost everything around every coastline around the planet, just as you saw in the movie 2012, with that huge wave climbing all the way up India, taking everyone with it. Do I want this to happen? No. My Palladian contact says it will not be as bad as Noah's flood, so not to worry about it. But things will happen. She was very clear on that. She tells me that by June of this year, 2016, all of these things will be very clear in our skies. Now, you can just imagine what will happen then. We've never seen these things in our skies before. You probably haven't seen them for over 3,000 years. I don't want everyone to panic. Panic kills more than any other thing. If they're ready for it, if they're prepared for it, they can jump on it. And they have a better chance, they have a fighting chance of surviving. That's why the world's governments, and probably the government of Nibiru itself, does not want people to panic, because they want the people to survive. They want them not to go back to zero, to caveman or worse. They want the advanced humans to step up to the next rung on the ladder. They want the advanced humans to survive this time fully intact. That's
minus 6.9 billion people.
Well, just like Pope
the
John
Georgia
Paul
Guidestones.
II said, just like Pope John Paul II said, what if the oceans were to cover every continent, killing millions within minutes? They can't save everyone. Just like the parts of the movie 2012 said.
You have that map, right?
I don't have it with me right now. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um, it was one of the trailers really quick. We see the monk running up on top of the hills. He's going back up to his monastery, and he's banging the gong on that huge, massive bell he had up on top. And here goes oceans coming over the mountains. You see, the people that made the movie 2012, they took that from ancient Chinese history. Emperor Yao, 2,900 plus BC, where this thing showed up in the skies in the constellation of Yin, and it caused the oceans to top the high mountains of China. The emperor had to send 4 teams out looking for where north, south, east, and west was. That's a pole shift, Earth crustal displacement. Then there was Noah's flood. Now, a lot of my friends want to disagree with me because the Holy Bible says it was caused by this for that. Ancient texts say different. The Sumerian civilization was around 4,000 years before the Bible was even written. And the Bible worked on a lot of the ancient texts, which were brought up by the emperor, by the pharaoh during the time of Exodus, because he wanted to know why and how the God of the slaves was more powerful than all of Egypt's magic. That's why we have all these ancient texts. They were put into the labyrinth, a 3-level fixture, a huge building that they built over in Egypt, 2 levels underground, one level above. And supposedly they seem to have found it recently. Solon, the ancient ancestor of Plato, went to ancient Egypt and spoke to ancient Egyptian priests way back when. That's when he learned about Atlantis. And he also learned about that the sun was originally in the west instead of the east. And not hardly anyone paid attention to that part. And then during the Exodus, Ipuwer describes very clearly how this had happened before, and that the sun had changed places again at least twice before, and that the stars all went to different places in the sky. The sun rose and the moon set in different positions, and that the growing seasons went completely out the window. That's Earth crustal displacement, my friends. I'm sorry. Noah's flood has been dated by almost every ancient type history person as dating somewhere around 12,900 plus minus. You know, too many things happened in North America during that time. All the massive cave bears, the saber-toothed tigers, the camels. Camels originally started here in North America. The horses, an earlier horse, they were all white. Clovis man, the earliest man they had back then, was wiped off the face of North America for almost 3,000 years until he was found again. They called him Fresno man. And they found all kinds of these neat little things in the ground that looked like they were little tiny metal pieces, and they were able to take them out of the earth. And they're actually parts of asteroids that had exploded over the earth. They looked in the ice core readings, and boom, there they were again. Something has happened every single time, whether we talk about religion or we talk about history. Many times history and religion has been mixed together, making religion more palatable for those who believe. It's unfortunate, but yes, it has happened. That's how I know about all this stuff, digging back through the ancient records. China, Mosai of China, 1600 BC. same time almost as the Exodus, 1613. That was clearly dated by an olive tree that they found at the base of all the ash deposits on the ancient Greek island of Thera, now called Santorini. They were able to carbon date it to 1613 BC. So that's the time of the Exodus right then and there, because Ippawar, the Egyptian scribe, mentioned ash falling all over Egypt during the Exodus. That was the only volcano erupting at that time. Now it's our turn. We have a huge amount of volcanoes erupting around the planet. We have higher than normal, probably highest in human history, of volcanic activity all around the planet. We're seeing more and more 4s, 5s, 6, and 7 earthquakes, magnitude earthquakes. We've seen 4 of these things in our skies like you're seeing tonight, today, and on this video right now. All these things seen around the planet, up in our skies. Here's another one right there, the red one, the red Kachina, Wormwood, the destroyer. That's on March 19th. There it is again. There's that thing again on the 20th.
Yeah, this is the one that's got me. If we could go back there for a second, because you know the red ones that I'm looking at, I'm not convinced on those, and they could be. I mean, they definitely could be. But this one, I mean, you can see looks like craters and a lot more detail, and
yes,
yeah, that
and
is certainly an anomaly.
It's a lot closer than our moon is.
Yeah, it looks pretty damn close.
That and these are the things they're hiding in our skies with the chemtrails. My friend Dawn Hull up in Washington State, she has a camera that looks up into the sky using infrared. And I don't know if I have the pictures here, but she's seeing massive, huge things in her skies. This is down in Australia. March 21st. Look at that massive red thing in the sky.
Looks like the sky's on fire.
That's how close this thing is showing. Just like back on January 8th over in Florence, Italy. My friend, let me dig up the picture real fast. Back up.
That's a good one, yeah.
Let me clear that down. Hold on. Here it is, January 8th.
And that green one, too, after, if you could show. You sent me that one. That's a good one.
Anyone who wants to see how massive these things come towards the Earth, this one image here, including the other one we just saw, shows how big this thing and why they're hiding it. Because even I would be thinking about running for the hills if this thing ever shows up.
They're hiding it right now.
There we go. This is in the skies over Florence, Italy. Look at this big thing on the horizon, January 8th. She had this person, I keep making a mistake saying she, had this expertly enhanced. Look at that huge thing on the horizon. That's not our sun. This person actually had a nice video on YouTube on how this was enhanced. On January 12th, she had the picture reversed, where everything that was white became black, black became white. And if the average person in Florence, Italy, was seeing that on their horizon, they would have all been at the Vatican praying on their knees. That is the same red thing that we're seeing in the newer pictures. That's how close its orbit or our orbit takes us to it. I cannot tell you how big that thing is because only the powers that be, the leaders of this planet, know how big this is, how close it was coming towards the planet right then. But if it had been that close, you would have had massive earthquakes right then and there. So it wasn't that close. Now, during the Exodus, 1613, the Ippawar said that in the skies over on up, the destroyer took up to 1/5 of the sky.
You know
That's
what, Robert?
tremendous.
If I can jump in here for a moment, just because the sound is starting to diminish big time. Your voice is breaking up. I don't know if it's just because of the internet connection or the topics being discussed or whatever. So just be aware of that.
I understand. I can hear you very, very. You're saying my voice might be breaking up.
Big time.
We might be having more problems with the internet because well, no one knows I'm doing this show, but they monitor what I do. So let's put it that way too. Here's another one. This is on February 16th. This image was taken, someone had the access back in 1983. The IRAS satellite was first put up by NASA. And there's the name, IRIS. It first saw Nibiru coming through our solar system, and the people at NASA jumped off the gun and had news conferences. And they said, we found something out beyond Pluto that was between 4 to 8 times the size of the planet Earth. A few days later, NASA pulled all of the news conference from every paper saying, no, these guys didn't know what they were talking about. IRAS was told to have gone silent a couple of years later because it used up all of its liquid hydrogen to cool the cameras. But this camera picture here says this picture was taken on, let's see, 2003. That's a long time since 1983, isn't it? That camera was still operating. There's all the numbers for the pictures. Oh, IRIS satellite. No, let's see, October 21st, 2003. And there's that big thing with the wings. There's Nibiru right there.
So that's Nibiru, then. That's the one that's out there by Jupiter.
That's the one that's going between Jupiter and Mars. The IRIS satellite was catching it as it was coming inwards towards our solar system because it orbits around the brown dwarf star we call Nemesis. Nemesis has 6 planets. I don't know the names of the first 5. Planet 6 is Nemesis. The dwarf planet Sedna, I'm going to show you these pictures while I've got them right here. See, NASA's known about this stuff for a long time. Let's see. Okay. NASA imaged our brown dwarf star Nemesis back in 2007-2008. Here it is. An infrared picture from something. I can't tell you what because I don't know what. There's Nemesis right there. Brown dwarf star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets. Planet 6 was orbiting towards our system. Planet 6 is Nibiru. NASA leaked this in 2009. A lot of leaking from NASA, I swear, but the NASA scientists have been leaking this information to every government, to every group
So
for
they
a
don't have
long
to.
time.
So they don't have to come out and say it.
Exactly. There's our brown dwarf solar system. There's the first 5 you saw in the picture, the infrared picture. There's Planet 6. See, NASA also pulled something else. So did every other government around this time. They were all saying that the Mayan calendar, December 21st, 2012, didn't exist because nothing would happen. But here we are in 2009, and they were projecting ahead of schedule that you wouldn't see Nibiru on December 21st, 2012, because it would be 20 astronomical units away from orbiting through our solar system. They knew it then. That's why they've been building the deep underground military bases. That's why Denver Airport has a massive deep underground military base underneath it, and it is fully activated now. They're all fully activated. This is why Moscow built over 5,000 bomb shelters for all of its people.
But I mean, couldn't it have also been just because of, you know, hey, we've got tons of nukes, they've got tons of nukes. I mean, they've been building, you know, bomb shelters and stuff now for 60 years.
The Russians have been the only country talking about the planet Nibiru on RT News, Russia Today News. I've seen one video after another over the years. They're talking about it fully, just as we're talking right now. They were showing pictures of it. And they have been showing, I've never been able to get a hold of RT News though. I tried getting a hold of them, some emails, but never got any return from them. Okay, you see this right here? That's planet number 6. Dwarf planet 7 is the dwarf planet called Sedna. And this is from my computer program. Where is it? Next one down. Right there. AstroViewer. You can go on any astronomical program you have, pull up your solar system, and then click on the name Sedna, S-E-D-N-A. It is a dwarf planet. AstroViewer. There's our solar system right there. And there's Sedna. If you go to the center of where this orbit is, you would have Nemesis, with planet 6 orbiting between Jupiter and Mars. See the steep, the huge rise right there? Robert Harrington, the doctor from the Naval Institute Press, he was one of the that was leading part of the teams that NASA put on researching this. He said that Nibiru had a regular orbit. It did not have an elliptical orbit, as everyone had been saying up until then and still till now. He said that Nibiru orbits through our system on a high angle, just like this. This is the ecliptic plane of every planet in our solar system. That's about 40-something degrees above the ecliptic plane. That's the angle that Nibiru swings down through our solar system. So Sedna has the same type of orbit, and so does the planet or dwarf planet Pluto. You can see it right there. Sedna, Nibiru, and the other five planets orbit through our system clockwise. So does Pluto. I wonder why it's the only one that does that. This is the stuff they don't want you to know, and for good reason. They don't want everyone freaking out, and I can understand that. This was given to me by a friend at NASA from the Microsoft Worldwide Telescope. They started showing weird things back in 2007. And most of the telescopes were blanking it out. See these 5 white things? Maybe a 6th one right there?
Oh yeah.
Has nothing in the middle. This is what they call a DSS photograph.
Looks like part of the Little Dipper.
This is what you would see if you looked out through a telescope. A brown dwarf or any dwarf star can only be seen in the infrared band. This was given to me by a friend at NASA. This was being seen on almost all of the telescope things. Google Earth Sky had it blacked out, like someone taking a marking pen across it. Microsoft Worldwide Telescope did the same thing. All of them did the same thing. Let's see. Okay. Where are we at? Where are we at? Back up there. Okay. NASA imaged the planet Nibiru itself in 2008. You can see the dates and times right down there. 08, 5th month, 14th day at 7:36 p.m. What did they use to image this? I can't tell you. I was told most of these have been taken by the South Pole Telescope. South Pole Telescope is run by the Jesuits, as is every other observatory around the planet. They're paying for all the stuff to be kept silent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 planets or moons. Nibiru is either the same size as Jupiter or a little bit larger. Very clear.